What's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple new power banks from a company known as Chuk Tech. Whether you need a power bank for your Android phone, your iPhone, your handheld gaming PC like the ROG Ally X, Steam Deck, or even a laptop, both of these are going to work great for those devices, but one of these does pack a little more performance and more features. But the first one we're going to be taking a look at is the Chuk Tech 85 watt, and then we're going to move over to the Chuk Tech 20. Does up to 210 watts maximum out. And out of one of these ports, it'll do up to 140 watts. It's also got a 1.54-inch OLED display that gives us all the information we need while we're charging our devices. This unit here has 3 power outputs. It's got 2 USB-C ports and 1 full-size USB. And in total, out of all 3 ports combined, it'll do up to 85 watts out, or a maximum of 65 watts out of the main USB Type-C port. It also has an OLED display here that gives us the battery percentage. All 3 ports are up top here, and it is FAA compliant because it's got a 20,000 milliamp hour battery. Now I'll give you a rundown here. With this kind of capacity, we're looking at charging up a Nintendo Switch 2.6 times off of this, the iPhone 15 Pro Max 2.8 times, the 2022 version of the iPad Air 1.9 times. It'll fully charge up a MacBook Air, Samsung S24 Ultra 2.8 times, and if you're working with something like the Surface Pro, you can get another full charge out of it. And like I mentioned, we've got 3 power outputs on this unit. And when it comes down to it, from that main USB Type-C, which we'll call C1, it'll do up to 65 watts. Out of C2, 20 watts, and out of USB Type-A, 20 watt max. I really wanted to see if this thing was really putting out 65 watts, so I've got a little watt meter here, and I wanted to test this with the ROG Ally X because the X can be charged at up to 100 watts, so we should be able to max out this C1 port here. And right at the bottom, you can see that we are at 56 watts. Now, there's going to be a little bit of parasitic loss from the adapter and the cable itself, but, plugging this into something, it's going to detect it as a 65 watt fast charger. So something like this is going to be great for your phone, a MacBook Air, for tablets, even the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck itself only does up to a 45 watt charge. So something like this Chuk Tech 85 watt power bank is going to be perfect for devices like that. But my favorite one they make right now is the Chuk Tech 20. This has a lot of great features built in. It's a 2500 milliamp hour battery. It's still FAA compliant, so you can bring it on a plane, but this will do up to a total of 210 watts using all 3 ports here, or from the main USB Type-C up to 140 watts. And one of the coolest things here is that 1.54-inch OLED display. Gives us all the information we need. Plus, the CUKTECH 20 does support pass-through charging, which means if you want to charge the battery up from the wall while you've got something else plugged in charging from that battery, it'll do it perfectly, and you can charge this at up to 100 watts. It also comes with a nice little carrying bag and a USB Type-C cable. And given that this is a 2500 milliamp hour power bank, we can charge a MacBook Air 1.2 times, iPhone 14 4 times, the Xiaomi 13 3.9, 2.2 on an iPad, 1.5 times on a Steam Deck, and about 3.3 times for your Nintendo Switch. The power output configuration is a bit different from the other one we took a look at, but we've still got 2 USB Type-C ports and 1 full-size USB. From C1, it'll do up to 140 watts max, so if you've got a laptop that'll charge at that, not a problem, or 120 on a phone. C2, 65 watt max, and full-size USB up to 30 watts. And if you're looking to charge up 3 devices at once, it'll still do 120 out of C1, 60 out of C2, and 30 out of USB Type-A. So again, moving over to the ROG Ally X because it does up to that 100 watts. Got it plugged in, just single device right now. It's doing 100 watts. And with this screen, we've got a couple different modes that we can use. It's got a nice little graph. We can also totally disable the OLED, but it'll give us information about all 3 ports on this device. And with the ROG Ally X plugged in and this laptop here, it's doing up to 154 watts out. So yeah, this is awesome. It's doing 100 watts out of that C1 port, 60 watts out of C2, and if I went ahead and plugged in a phone to our USB Type-A, we can get up to 30 watts over there in total. And I really wanted to stress this unit out to see exactly what we could do, so I've plugged in 2 ROG Ally X devices. Remember, those will do up to 100 watts each, but since we're using C1, out of C2 it'll only do up to 60 watts. And we've got 15 coming out over to the Galaxy S24 Ultra. I guess that's the fast charge on that device. I really haven't tested it in the past. So it looks like we're doing up to around 157, 158 watts out of this unit now. Another thing I really like about the Chuk Tech 20 is the fact that it supports pass-through charging. Right now, I've got this plugged into a 100-watt charger from the wall. And in turn, that wall charger is charging the battery bank up at 100 watts. But we can also charge up the ROG Ally up to 60 because I'm working over C2. We could go the other way around with it, but it really wouldn't make sense because it'd be putting out more than it's bringing in. But basically, you can charge this battery bank up from the wall while you're charging 2 other devices, which is great. It's something that I don't see a lot from these battery banks. Usually, if you try this, the battery bank will shut down and then nothing really gets charged. It's pretty awesome that it does pass through charging. When it comes down to it, both of these battery banks are great, but if I had to choose one, I would choose the 20 just because we've got more power output there, and with the devices I use, I would love to have that faster charging. But if you're just working with like an iPad, iPhone, or an Android phone, the 85-watt version is also really great. We can do 3 devices at the same time, 20,000 milliamp hour battery, and yeah, it definitely gets the job done. And keep in mind, both of these can be brought on a plane. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. Really appreciate you watching. If you're interested in learning a little more about these Chuk Tech battery banks, I'll leave links in the description. And if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments below. But that's it for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.